Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. We're now just 10 days away from the Kenobi series dropping. That's right, next Friday, episodes 1 and 2. It's so close and it finally feels real. Today my dear friends, we've got a little bit of news for the Kenobi series. We're also going to be talking about Hayden Christensen, an upcoming Star Wars announcement, and Attack of the Clones. But before all of that, we have probably the most exciting piece of Star Wars news of the month. That's right, the month. Vanity Fair did a photo shoot for Star Wars, specifically showcasing all of the live action projects coming up. So we have The Mandalorian Season 3, Ahsoka, Andor, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they posted their full video online and it looks incredible. We see Hayden Christensen in action, we also see him as Darth Vader alongside Reva, and another look at Obi-Wan Kenobi. But the most epic shot is when they're standing together, all of our heroes of this generation of Star Wars, Ahsoka, Pedro Pascal as Din Djarin, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the magnificent Diego Luna as one of my favourite characters of all time, Cassian Mother effing Andor. This got my hype level from like 5 to a massive 10 out of 10, and the cover for which they all shot for has the slogan, "The Rebellion will be televised." I really can't wait for this, my dear friends. With Star Wars Celebration at the end of next week, this is all to give us insight into the live action shows, not just for Mando and Kenobi, but also for Ahsoka and Andor. Or as Vanity Fair put it, this is going to be inside the master plan for a fleet of new shows. And with the Andor series specifically, what got me super hyped was not only Diego Luna, but also seeing Genevieve O'Reilly in a new outfit for Mon Mothma. You've heard me say it before guys, and I'm gonna say it again, do not sleep on the Andor series. This is going to be probably the biggest show of all of them. I'm serious about that. I really think it's going to contain some surprises no one saw coming, and from what I've heard, it's going to be loaded with fan service and be one of the most satisfying Star Wars stories. So all of this was for Vanity Fair's June 2022 issue, and I can't wait. Thank you Vanity Fair, you've put a massive smile on my face today. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. Now, in line with this, Vanity Fair also published an article. It's a very long one, and I do want to spend a separate video going through some of the details. There is some really interesting information about the child and how he came about. They also talk about The Mandalorian, and there's also confirmation that the Ahsoka series is releasing in 2023. But the section I do want to highlight in this video is regarding the Andor series, because we do have something of a plot reveal. Tony Gilroy, the showrunner, says the following: "This guy," and he's speaking about Andor, "gave his life for the galaxy, right? I mean, he consciously, soberly, without vanity or recognition, sacrificed himself. Who does that?" he asks. That's what this first season is about. It's about him being really revolution averse and cynical and lost and kind of a mess. And this is where we get a big reveal, guys. The story begins with the destruction of Andor's birth world, then follows him into adulthood when he realizes he can't run forever. His adopted home will become the base of our whole first season, and we watch the place become radicalized. Then we see another planet that's completely taken apart in a colonial kind of way. The Empire is expanding rapidly, they're wiping out anyone who's in their way, and by the journey's end, Andor's path will be to block theirs. Gilroy also reveals the show's first season is going to focus a lot on Mon Mothma, so we're really going to see examples of what Andor says in Rogue One, that he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old, and we're going to see his backstory and how he became a rebel hero. Really interesting stuff. As I said guys, I am going to break down more of this article in upcoming videos, but now let's talk about the Kenobi series. The Kenobi leaks have been a focal subject of fandom discussion in recent weeks, and there are a plethora of opinions. Some people love them, some people hate them, and yet others, myself included, are just gonna wait and see. But regardless of your thoughts of them, Making Star Wars Net posted a bullet point summary of all of their leaks for the show. That's right, literally all of them. They made a bullet pointed summary and listed them chronologically, episodes 1 through 6. Now when the summary was published, something that was made very apparent that many outlets reported on is that most of the footage from the teaser and trailer are from the first 2 episodes. Apart from the final frame of the main trailer where Kenobi looks up and sees what Vader's become, it looks as though after episode 2, we're going in completely blind. Now this is truly exciting news and deliberate on Lucasfilm's end, because we're in for some really big surprises come the second half of the series. Now, Bespin Bulletin, another very reliable leaker, did a great job of summarizing the first episode based on the Making Star Wars leaks. Now, I'm not going to go through all of it, just the beginning and parts that include new details. The rest is stuff we've already covered in the past, so let's dive into it. So once we're past the Order 66 flashbacks, the first episode is focusing on Obi-Wan's new life. Obi-Wan on Tatooine has a routine. They note that every morning, Obi-Wan gets public transport into the Dune Sea to work a menial job, which is now described as, quote, sand whaling. His boss is a bully who takes advantage of those who work for him, but Obi-Wan goes along with it. He doesn't open his mouth, he doesn't say a single thing, because the last thing he wants is to attract attention to himself. Now, what was interesting to me reading this was that working in a desert for an asshole bully sounded very familiar, and then I realized it's kind of reminiscent of the first half of The Force Awakens, and in some ways even parallels Anakin's life as a slave working for Watto. I suppose the moral of the story is, if you're on a desert planet and you're working a menial job or you're a slave, your boss is going to be a dick, and you're going to have a pretty miserable time. So back to the leak. Obi-Wan has his routine on Tatooine, and once done with his job for the day, he returns home and meets with a Jawa called Tika. And if you remember, guys, Tika is a feisty Jawa who steals from Obi-Wan and then sells his stuff back to him. So in this first episode, we're gonna see Kenobi buy supplies from the Jawa, who convinces him to purchase a T-16 Skyhopper toy, the same one we see later on in A New Hope. And following his interaction with Tika, Kenobi readies himself for bed and attempts to reach out through the Force to communicate with Qui-Gon. But as we know, Obi-Wan is going to be unsuccessful for the vast majority of this series. But fast forward to episode 5 of the show, and we do hear Qui-Gon's voice, and at the end of episode 6, the final episode of the show, Qui-Gon is going to appear to Obi-Wan as a fully fledged Force ghost. And if you remember when I covered that leak, Qui-Gon is going to look at Obi-Wan, Kenobi says, "What took you so long?" and Qui-Gon is going to reply, "I was with you the whole time." So there really is going to be this spiritual journey that Obi-Wan's going to undergo throughout this series. He's a very changed man by the end. He starts off broken, depressed, just going through the motions and living this boring life. And by the end, he's met Saw Gerrera's partisans, he sees hope in the early rebellion, the earliest remnants of rebellion, and he also finally sees the purpose of his own mission. And given that by the end of the series, he is able to commune with his former master as Yoda instructed him, Obi-Wan is no longer going to feel alone. Now, there is so much more to this episode 1 leak with the Inquisitors arriving on Tatooine, but as I've said, I've already covered it in the past. So we've now learned a bit more about Obi-Wan's job, and the main takeaway from this is that 99% of the footage that we saw in the trailers is from episodes 1 and 2, and yes, that even includes the hunt for Obi-Wan on Daiyu, because he goes there promptly when Bail Organa tells him that Leia's been kidnapped, and all of that takes place in the second episode, at least according to these leaks. So let me know your thoughts of this. We're truly going in blind come episode 3, super exciting. And so now, my dear friends, we're going to look at some new comments by Hayden Christensen, because he sat down with StarWars.com in celebration of Attack of the Clones' 20th anniversary, which was yesterday. Now, while there isn't too much in regards to the Kenobi series, there are some truly heartwarming and wholesome moments in this interview, so let's get into it. We're going to start with Hayden's reaction to finding out he got the part in Star Wars. This is really cute, and he says, quote, "I remember when I got the phone call saying I got the part, I was still in bed actually, in my apartment in Vancouver at the time. I recall walking out after I got off the phone, just sort of stunned and in disbelief by the news. Walking into the living room where my roommate was, he was aware that I was waiting for this call, and he saw my smile and immediately understood that there was good news. My response was, I lit up an imaginary lightsaber. He was a big Star Wars fan too, and he had the soundtrack to episode 1. He put the Star Wars soundtrack on, and we had this whole imaginary lightsaber duel around our apartment, jumping on all of the furniture and just screaming like giddy little children." I love this response, guys. It just shows you how much it meant to Hayden as a young, aspiring actor, and from there on out, he was definitively Anakin Skywalker. Now, Christensen, of course, was not the first actor to play the role. In The Phantom Menace, we saw young Jake Lloyd, and of course, in the original trilogy, it was Sebastian Shaw who portrayed the role of a redeemed Anakin. And so speaking about the many sources to draw upon when preparing for the role, Christensen said the following: "One of the aspects of Star Wars that I found really compelling was the generational aspect of it. I really wanted to feel authentic and have as much continuity as possible. I was very cognizant of the performance that Jake Lloyd gave in episode 1 and wanting it to feel like it was really just an older version of that kid, to some of the nuances and mannerisms of Darth Vader, wanting that transition to have some context as well, and to his children Luke and Leia for that lineage to feel convincing. So I had a lot that I was drawing from, and then of course everything is going to go through in the story. And look guys, this cannot be overstated. Hayden did so much preparation for the role of Anakin. With the help of George, he got into the character's head. He was aware of his speech patterns, his mannerisms, and always keeping in mind the end point, the fact that Anakin's arc was going to end in Vader. And in case you missed what I said the other day about Hayden being Anakin, he was truly perfect in the role. And I'm nothing short of elated that he's coming back in the Kenobi series, not only as Darth Vader, but of course in flashbacks as Anakin. And given what Hayden said the other day about finally being accepted by Star Wars fans, I'm sure he's absolutely nailed it more than ever before. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, have a good one.